Your story is stuck. Not because you can't plot, but because your analytical brain is fighting the story's deepest truth. You've defined the character's journey, but they still feel hollow. Why? Because you're missing the unshakable core conflict, the battle between who they are and the lie they tell themselves to survive. What if you could bypass the conscious mind, trick your inner editor, and retrieve the character's wound, identity, and essence with one definitive symbolic action? Today, we'll unlock the power of the runes to make character development fun and writer's block obsolete. Hello, fellow storytellers. I'm Mark Graham with the Mindful Storyteller, where we move past writing drills and tap into the intentional, transformative power of storytelling. Today, we're using the Odin's Lot system to define the foundational inner struggle of a new character. Now, this is the wound, identity, essence model used by the pros, filtered through ancient Norse mythology and Jungian psychology. This video is your complete roadmap, and we're going to cover the Trinity of conflict, how the wound is defined by the subconscious, the psychological hack, how divination distracts your intellect to access the source of story, and the world tree map, breaking down the dice, the runes, and the meaning of the casting tray. And finally, we'll do a rune casting and interpret the results to define a brand new character I'm working with. If you're ready to stop brainstorming and start hearing directly from your muse, join me as we dive in. To write a transformative story, you need a transformative character. And to build one, we're going old school with the Trinity of Norse cosmology. Now, according to ancient Norse myths, the god Odin comprised three distinct personalities, sometimes described as brothers, who brought the physical world into ordered existence. Most important to us, they also created the first humans, Ask and Imbla. Vili gave these first humans vitality and strength. They gave them senses and cognitive ability. And finally, Odin himself gave them breath and spirit. In modern psychological terms, we can associate Vili with the subconscious, with instinct, and with the brainstem. They is associated with ordinary consciousness, with the ego and emotions, and with the cerebral cortex. And the Odinic aspect relates to the superconscious, the source of intuition, ideals, and higher wisdom, qualities associated with the brain's neocortex. Okay, Mark, fine, but what does any of this psychobabble have to do with storytelling? Well, according to Michael Hauge of Story Mastery, rich, three-dimensional characters, the kind that populate transformative, mindful storytelling, are defined by three powerful elements: the wound, the identity, and the essence. The wound is generally some traumatic event that happened early in the character's life, possibly so traumatic or so early that they've blocked it out or simply don't remember. But it left an indelible impression on their subconscious, so deep that it impacts every decision, every relationship, every choice they make. It's the primal driving force, the fatal flaw that has made them who they are when your story opens and when we get to meet them. The identity is the persona, the mask that your character puts on to avoid looking at the wound and to conceal it from others. It's shaped by the nature of the wound itself and hides it perfectly. As Michael says, the story around the identity always makes perfect sense, and it's always a lie. It keeps the character safe, but utterly unfulfilled. You see, in addition to covering up the wound, this mask of identity also creates a blind spot. And it's a blind spot that will ultimately destroy the character's life and prevent them from achieving their highest potential and the real goal of your story. The identity is so powerful, your character may say, "I'll do anything you ask to win the objective of the story. Just don't ask me to ... Because if they were to do that thing, the mask might slip, and you might see them for who they really are, scars and all. When we first meet your character, they're deeply into their identity, and whether they know it or not, it's ruining their life. So, for their growth and transformation, for them to achieve the true inner goal of the story, you, the author, have to rip away the mask of identity. Because it's only when the mask is gone that we can see the essence. Now, this is the character's best and highest self, the pure, true nature that stands in direct but necessary conflict with that false identity. In the essence lies the truth about the wound. This truth can be hard and painful and scary, but it's only by recognizing this truth and putting into practice the lessons it has to teach that the wound can finally begin to heal, and your character can start living with purpose and authenticity. In story terms, this struggle between the identity and essence defines the inner conflict of your character. Understanding this early in the story planning process helps you see exactly what your climax needs to look like, the struggle it needs to elicit within your protagonist. The character has to discard the identity and embody the essence, and the nature of this interplay can show you the sorts of scenarios you can draw on for an inevitable, surprising, and satisfying transformation. So, how do we come up with these primal drivers for character? Well, there are plenty of methods used by expert storytellers. I like to use a system I call Odin's lots, based on the Elder Futhark of the Old Norse writing system, more commonly known as the runes. The Elder Futhark contains 24 characters, or runes, which can be divided into 3 groups of 8. Each of these groups relates to one of the aspects of Odin, which further correspond to the 3 levels of consciousness, and ultimately to, can you guess? The wound, identity, and essence. The wound is associated with the subconscious, with self-preservation instincts and unconscious programming. The identity relates to the ordinary consciousness, calculated action, and moving about the everyday world. And the essence lines up with the superconscious, with the big picture and achieving our highest ideals. Odin's lots consist of 3 dice, each inscribed with 8 runes. The first die, black and white, represents Vili, the unconscious and the wound. The second, red with black characters, stands for Ve, the ordinary consciousness and the identity. And the third die, white with red characters, is associated with Odin, the superconscious and the character's essence. Each rune has a specific set of associations, so depending on which one comes up on a rune casting or a dice roll, will inform that aspect of your story. Using the dice alone has really improved the depth of my characters, my understanding of what makes them tick, and how they respond to stress and conflict. But we can enrich character development even more by rolling the dice into a specially designed tray. The Odin's Lots dice tray is divided into 9 parts of equivalent area, so there's essentially an even chance of the dice landing in any particular zone. In keeping with the theme of Norse mythology, each area is named for one of the realms of the world tree: Midgard, Asgard, Vanaheim, and so on. But because the muse is very clever, and, well, because synchronicity, we can go even deeper. We also have 9 psychological types of the Enneagram, 9 key archetypal characters, 9 classical planets, if you include Earth and the lunar node, 9 energy centers of the body, and 9 subdivisions of human consciousness. So there's a lot going on here. Using only the dice gives you more than 500 combinations to help you define a unique, compelling character. Using the dice with the tray design, that provides around 24 million variations. Now factor in your own creativity and how each of those characteristics interacts with your particular story. The possibilities are practically infinite. The tray sets up the battlefield for your character's soul, with the dice as the combatants. And that, my friends, is super fuel. essential for a story with the power to transform your reader. Now, let's take a peek behind the curtain. How can throwing dice or casting symbols actually work better than just sitting down and thinking through the process? It's all about the unconscious mind, the true hidden source of story. Now, I know some of you are giving me the side eye about now. Dude, I came here for writing tips, not tie-dyed woo-woo hippie shit. I hear you, but stick with me. Consider great thinkers like Jung and Plato. They believed that story ideas live in a collective unconscious, a non-physical realm of templates and archetypes. And modern neuroscience understands that your personal unconscious mind is constantly absorbing millions of bits of data every second. So whether you're consciously aware of it or not, whether through your own experience or through the cumulative experiences of billions of humans over hundreds of thousands of years, you have access to the solution to every story problem you face. The problem is the intellect. It's the watchdog, the editor who demands linear, logical structure. And when you try to force a solution, the intellect fights the creative truth. And that's where writer's block comes from. The power of genuine divinatory systems, including the runes, isn't some mystical, magical mumbo-jumbo. It's in its ability to distract the intellect. When you look at a rune, your left brain, the logical, linear side, gets busy trying to name the shape, identify the sound value, and recall the symbolic history. Then, while your intellect is distracted, your right brain, the holistic, visual, divergent side, sneaks past and connects directly with the rich, multi-dimensional symbolism stored in the unconscious mind. And this is where the mindful part comes in. The subconscious, or Vili, acts as your concierge, your personal butler, the Alfred to your writerly Batman. Not only does it retrieve information, but it feeds it into our bodies so that without even knowing it, we can project conditions out into the world. This is the real magic the psychology and neuroscience explain to us. Even as you shake the dice or shuffle a card deck, your unconscious mind is tracking the subtle imperfections, and your subconscious quietly and expertly loads the dice or stacks the deck. The rune that appears, its orientation, and how it lands hint at the solution your deepest self is trying to communicate. It's time to stop fighting your brain and start using this psychological hack. Okay, we've laid the foundation. We know the psychology. Let's see how the runes work in action. Now, before we continue though, let me know in the comments if you've ever tried an intuitive tool for writing before and how it worked for you. Your responses fuel this channel. Now, I have a character in mind. I know the big plot of my story, but not necessarily what makes her tick. And it's that inner drive and struggle that really lift characters off the page. If you don't have a grasp of your character yet, or even the premise or plot, that's okay. The subconscious can work wonders when you trust and lean into it. So, I have my dice and tray ready. I'm thinking about my character and story as I jumble and shake the dice. In this case, it's a young woman in a paranormal thriller. And here we go. So, our rune casting has given us Gebo in the northeast, which represents the wound. We have Hauge split between the west and northwest, representing the identity. And we have Hauge in the southeast, representing the essence. Gebo is identified as the gift. It represents an equal exchange of energy, equity, balance, and cooperation. So as a wound, that's kind of a strange rune. The thing that's going to help us here is its location in the dice tray. It's located in the realm of Asgard, which is also associated with the Enneagram Type 6, which is the loyalist and troubleshooter. Now, the loyalist's greatest fear is insecurity, and they crave support. Now, this realm of Asgard is also associated or represented by the eagle in this system. Now, Becca is the daughter of 2 Dhaka immigrants. Her father joined the military, which could be the representation of the eagle, and I believe he gave his life for the country, Gebo, the gift. And this insecurity that it brought up within her family, or her mother in particular, is the source of the wound that has shaped the course of her life, of her inmost psychology. For the identity, we have Hauge. Hauge literally means hail, like a hailstorm, a hailstone, and it represents purification. Now, purification can come in the manner of a gentle rain shower, or it can come as a hailstorm, depending on how willing you are or how resistant you are to this change that's coming. We have Hauge split between the west and the northwest. The northwest is the realm of the ancestors, of the ascended masters, or the light elves. The west represents air, nature spirits. The west is Enneagram Type 9, the peacemaker, whereas the northwest is Enneagram Type 2, the helper or mentor. Now, this is fitting because the peacemaker fears separation, whereas the helper fears rejection. Both of these tie into the insecurity suggested by the Type 6 with the wound. So with the rune of purification combined with all these in the nature of the identity, of Becca's identity, suggests she's taken on the role of a caretaker, perhaps literally a purifier or a cleaner, someone who believes that by helping to clean up other people's messes, of purifying other people's spaces, she can find that love and wholeness that she craves. And finally, we move on to the essence. This is represented by Hauge in the southeast, or Svartalfheim. This is the home of the dark elves, or the dwarfs, and it's directly associated with the subconscious. Now, this realm is associated with the Enneagram Type 7, the enthusiast, or the visionary, who fears stagnation and just craves happiness and fulfillment. Hauge, in itself, literally means horse, and it represents trust, instinct, going with your gut feeling. So while we have Becca putting on this mask of the helper, of the caretaker, the reality is she just needs to have fun. She needs to trust her instincts and allow herself to be, to go without a plan for a day, and for once in her life, just allow things to develop as they will. Now, we also have the rotation of the dice. We have Gebo just coming off of upright, suggesting that this gift or loss, the gift of her father's life, may not have happened that long ago, and that it's still fairly fresh. Hauge is coming into fullness, suggesting Becca maybe hasn't fully bought into her role as a caretaker, but it's getting stronger and stronger and stronger within her. And we have Hauge a little behind Hauge as far as its rotation clockwise into full upright. And that could suggest that timing is critical, that if she doesn't embrace this essence in a short order, she may never escape the identity. So there you go. In a matter of minutes, we moved from a vague idea, a young woman caught up in a human trafficking ring and with voices in her head, to a defined, tragic inner conflict. We now know the wound, Vili, is from the death of her father. The identity, they, is the lie of a specific mask, the caretaker. And the essence, or Odin, represents her need to trust herself, to go with her gut, and just to have fun once in a while. This is how you get rock-solid plot points. The character must face a decision that forces them to recognize the wound, abandon their identity, and embrace their essence. Their failure to do so sets up the climax. Their eventual success, or in a cautionary tale, their failure, creates the transformation. And I'll let you in on a little secret. Even if you don't yet have the tools to do your own rune casting, I'll bet there's a clue for your own character in this one. The story you are meant to tell is already waiting for you. Stop analyzing and start receiving it. The world is waiting. They need to hear this story. Now, next time, we'll use the runes in a different way to draft a 9-part outline you can use with Save the Cat, the hero's journey, the 40-chapter plot module, or whatever structure you prefer. And if you're a discovery writer and the very thought of an outline gives you hives, you're not. I promise this will boost your storytelling and creativity. No Benadryl required. Thanks for joining me today. If this process unlocked something for you, be sure to like, share, subscribe. All that really helps the growing channel, and it's the best way to keep receiving these deep dive creative hacks. Tell me your revelation in the comments. Based on this rune casting, what does your character's transformation look like? If you don't have Odin's lots, and not many people do, in the description, I've added a link for a brief outline, a short guide for how to use them. If you sign up for my newsletter, I'll keep you posted so that when we're ready to roll these out for wider use, you'll be one of the first to know. Now go. Write with intention. And until next time, may your story guide you well.